I'm literally talking to a phone right now. I don't know how people do this all the time. I don't. So a lot of people have been asking me questions recently about this computer I built, and they're wondering how it works or how I did that. So I'm going to show you. You're going to learn a little bit of something today. So this is the computer right here. It's water cooled. Some stuff has been customized on it, and I did some custom work with like sleeving tables and stuff so it looks nicer. I'm really like aesthetics with computers and whatnot, and so I love a lot of fun doing it. So the way this works, it's pretty simple. There's a reservoir to pump on the bottom, and it pumps it up, goes up into here. This is the video card block. It flows through some certain channels in there, which cools the components inside. It goes through this pipe, goes into that block right there, the CPU block, and then from that block it goes up through this pipe, which goes into this radiator, which has these fans to cool it, and then from the radiator back down into the reservoir and pump, and then it just goes in that loop. There's a valve on the bottom right here if I ever need to open it and replace the fluid or do maintenance on it, which is pretty cool, and I'm really glad I put that in there. It makes things a lot easier. These cables right here, the 24 pin connector, the 6 and 8 pin connector for the video card, and the 8 pin to the motherboard, they're sleeved by a company called Cable Mod. They're pretty nice. You can design your own cables and stuff now, so that was fun. The fans here, if you can see, yeah, you can see those cables. I put that sleeving on them myself because if you don't, it looks really ugly. So there's quite a few things you can do with water cooling. I just have a couple components here. Previously what I did is I used these fittings, they're soft tubing compression fittings, and it just comes off like that. That screws off, and then there's a barb on it. There you go, you can see it. There's a barb on it that the tubing, this black tubing, would go over, and it pushes on there. And this thick of tubing, it's the inner diameter is 1/4 of an inch, so it's pretty big. So that's, or it's a 1/2 inch, my bad. So it's pretty big, and then you got to shove it on there, and then whatever happens, happens, and you screw this, you push that over tubing, and then you clamp it on, and it's pretty simple, and it looks nice depending on how you do the route the tubing, but it's obviously not hardline tubing. Then there comes these fittings for this. This is called PETG tubing. It's sort of like a mix of plastic and acrylic. You get this fitting and you take it off. You look here, you take that off, and there's a O-ring. The O-ring goes in between this compression part that screws on there, and then the pushes the tubing against the O-ring so the fluid doesn't leak. It's a pretty simple process, but you just got to make sure the O-rings are good. Otherwise, fluid will leak out of it, and you have to put them in properly. So it's pretty simple, but it's really cool. It's a lot of fun. There's these things right here. They're called flow indicators. Just happen to have one. I haven't used it, but it just lets you know how your fluid's flowing, and it's mostly aesthetics just to look at it. It looks pretty sweet when you put it in there with some crazy builds people do. And so yeah, if you're wondering what specs are on this, it's a i7-6700K GTX 980 Asus Z170 motherboard. It's one of the newer ones, but it's not expensive. It's more of a budget board. It's pretty sweet. It's 480mm radiator. It's EK Waterblocks products. The radiator is from XSPC. It's a white one, obviously. It's pretty sweet. And then the fittings are all Bits Power fittings. They're awesome fittings and they're high quality. Never had any problems with them. These it's a 750 watt EVGA power supply as well. So that's pretty much it. The fans are static pressure SP fans from Corsair, and I had 2 of them, and it's got 2 more, so I stuck them on there. And it's the Thermaltake Core P5 case, which was pretty fun to build in. It was interesting aesthetic wise, so I wanted to build in it, and it just looks unique, and so that's what it came to. But yeah, that's the Hardline water cooled stuff.